Now that is how you beat up a weaker opponent. Write a book and send it to Dave Roberts, okay? Send that, Philadelphia, send that to Dave Roberts. That's how you play the Diamondbacks in a postseason game. My God. So let us discuss the question. How impressive have the Fightin' Phils been here to start the NLCS? Now, normally we start with the losing team, but there ain't much to talk about with that team. They blow. So we're going to start with the team that's good here. How impressive have the Phillies been here to start the NLCS? All right, so my first thought on the NLCS, this is how you do it. Poetry in motion. And I continue to be jealous. Now, I've gotten feedback from Philly fans like the Fry Daddy, for example, who are upset with me. They feel like I'm some kind of jinx here because I have been Benny Brightside when talking about the Philadelphia baseball team. But that's all I can do. The Phillies, much like the team that I like, the Dodgers, have a pair of $300 million batters. But unlike Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, the guys in Philly actually get it done, Bryce Harper and Trey Turner. And even when they don't get it done, the Phillies still find ways to win the game, and they live up to the contract, right? Now, I know the Dodgers don't care, and Mookie Betts is probably bowling right now. They don't even know what's going on in the baseball playoffs, and Freddie Freeman's probably out somewhere fishing. But those two guys, the Exxon Valdez in the baseball playoffs here against Arizona, but you see the talent disparity between Philadelphia and Arizona on a nightly basis. And spoiler alert, it was the same way in the divisional round, but it didn't play out that way. The Phillies have put a clinic out on the field, varsity versus junior varsity. It looks like a family get-together at Thanksgiving when you try to go down to the park, or you say, I'm going to go down to the park, and we'll have the adults play the kids. And the adults in the room would be the Fightin' Phils here. Philly has been a team that has played like they are possessed. Kyle Schwarber started getting into the act here in the National League Championship Series. But the Fightin' Phils have turned into a classic 1980s arcade game from Midway called Rampage. They are on a rampage here. They are destroying and devouring everything in sight at this point. It's like the Navy slogan, by land, by air, by sea. There's all kinds of Philly stat porn, we call it, going around. For example, did you know that Philadelphia has out-homered their opponents by 15 long balls so far this postseason? Does that sound outrageous? Does that sound crazy? Well, it is the greatest home run differential for any team in any 8-game span within a single postseason in history. Of course, they try to hit home runs every time up. That's kind of the way they play baseball. How about the Phillies, not known for having dynamic starting pitching? You wouldn't know it from the postseason. Philadelphia starters now are 6-0 this postseason with a sparkling 1.55 ERA. And the number that is staggering, 51 strikeouts compared to 4 walks. 51 strikeouts and 4 walks. And as a pitching coach told me years ago about professional baseball, as long as you don't walk batters, the hitter will get himself out the majority of the time. If you merely put the ball within the strike zone and force the hitter to make contact, they will get themselves out more times than not. It won't be because of your great pitching. But over the years, that, of course, has gone away. You don't challenge certain hitters and all that. But anyway, as a result of all these numbers, this Philly stat porn, the Fightin' Phils are 7-1 in the playoffs, and they are knocking on the door for a return to the Fall Classic and another mashup with a Texas baseball team. Hopefully this time the Rangers and not the ass, you know, 1,000, 2,000 holes there from Houston. So the Phillies have trailed at the end of only 2 full innings in the postseason. That is the fewest of the first 8 games of the postseason of all time. So it just gets better and better for Philadelphia. Now we pivot. I think we've covered all the stat porn for the Phillies, suffice to say. So we go to the losing locker room, which is not the better story because it's just morbid. It is just morbid. And so let's ask Torey Lovullo, that is the manager of the Arizona baseball team, who looked like a genius when matched up against the Dodgers, and now not so much. Here's Torey Lovullo asked about what the heck his team can do at this point.
Look, We could be playing on the moon. Everybody's talking about coming into this environment, and I don't care. Like, we got to play better baseball. Everybody's got to be better. You start with the manager, and then trickle all the way down through the entire team. We got to play Diamondback baseball. What we watched out there was not anything that we have done for a long period of time. So we got to regroup. We got to regroup the troops. We got to find a way to get it done.
Well, I got to tell you, that kind of looked like the Diamondbacks. Like, what they did against the Dodgers didn't look like the Arizona Diamondbacks. That's Diamondback baseball, right? That's, in my life, that's the Arizona Diamondbacks. The way they played the first two games of the National League Championship Series was a return to normalcy. So why don't we answer the question? We'll help out Torey Lovello, because he obviously has no answers if he's saying get back to play Diamondback baseball. What can the Diamondbacks do to at least make this appear like a competitive series? So I've got two words. Lost baggage. If the Phillies' bats and helmets end up in Guam, they likely will have trouble hitting. The way things are going, though, they'll go down to like a Big Five or something like that. They'll pick up, or a Foot Locker, they'll pick up some pickleball paddles, and they'll start hitting home runs. Right? Hell, at this point, Torey Lovello, the manager, should contact, I don't know if this guy's still around. I know his show got canceled a couple years ago, Les Stroud, Survivor Man. And because you look at the Phillies here, and they're cooking with gas, right? They've got the gas going. They are just cooking. And the Diamondbacks are rubbing a couple of rocks together, looking for a spark here, far away from civilized baseball. They're hiking out in the wilderness, out in the woods. Now, the good news is the Phillies do not have another big-name starter for Game 3. The bad news is the guy they're going to pitch has been wonderful in his two playoff appearances. Ranger Suarez, left-handed pitcher, will be on the mound there. And he wasn't very good during the regular season, but he was very impressive against the Atlanta Braves in the divisional round. And the Rangers are going with a guy who's got a very hard name to pronounce, Brandon Fought, not Fat. It looks like Fat. It's Fought. Pfaadt. Boy, somewhere in the family tree, they probably should have said, maybe we should change that name. Maybe we should kind of dumb it down a little bit. But Brandon Fought, he of an ERA of close to 6. Of course, he also looked great against the Dodgers, as everyone did for Arizona. Not exactly Kurt Schilling versus Roy Halladay in Game 3 between the Phillies and the Diamondbacks. All right, last word here. If you haven't been paying attention, there seems to be a common thread as I get out some frustration. We're going to go to Los Angeles, where they've made it official. The chief nerd, Andrew Friedman, has announced that manager Dave Roberts and the entire coaching staff will return for the 2024 season. It's not a surprise, but it is now official. This move coming days after the lowly Diamondbacks swept the Dodgers in an embarrassing best-of-5 exit stage left from the postseason. Roberts under contract through 2025. So what message are the Doyers sending by keeping Dave Roberts in the dugout? All right, so this is easy. They're announcing to the entire world here, they're buying advertising, that Dave Roberts is simply pushing shiny buttons. That's all Dave Roberts is doing. He's pushing shiny buttons, following the 3-ring binder. And it's like we have discussed on these airwaves over the last number of years here, that Roberts is merely a middle manager between the front office, a liaison from the locker room to the front office. He's an android skipper. It's Dodger baseball, automation. However, he does not write Roberts or edit the script, and he merely follows the orders of his higher-ups there. And so, therefore, the Dodgers cannot hold Roberts accountable. It's no different than the Yankees allowing Aaron Boone to come back. It's the same thing. The Dodgers and Yankees might as well be one franchise because they're operating the same exact way. You've got a group of super nerds who ultimately make all the big decisions. And the manager is just merely there to relay the messaging from above. And you look at what's happening. We hope there's a great awakening. I have a dream. My dream is the Fightin' Phils play the Texas Rangers in the World Series, because Philadelphia, while they do use some analytics, and so do the Texas Rangers, They are not completely obsessed with the analytics. And I look at Philly, an old school GM, Dave Dombrowski, who all this guy does is build teams to get to the World Series. Is he Mr. Analytical? No. But clearly he knows a thing or two about playoff baseball and what it takes in the postseason, unlike many of these analytical-driven franchises that seem to vanish after winning 100 games during the regular season. And you've got Bruce Bochy, who's not someone that's just following blindly what he's told from higher-ups there. And these teams have, right now, they've got that Mamba mentality. And meanwhile, the Atlanta Braves, the Dodgers, and others are enjoying a nice tropical vacation.